A lot of the swing traders that I've had on the show that have done well in their trading career, they are utilizing seems quite rudimentary technicals. Some, for example, Burn, it just seems as simple as demand area on the daily, and that's about it. Because he's using a heavy reliance on fundamentals. To my knowledge, you're not really utilizing fundamentals. Am I correct in saying?
I do a bit.
Okay,
I do it as like a broad overview, but
sure.
not to. If it affects my bias, then it's an issue. Right? I'm kind of using it as sentiment, and a lot of times I'm going to fade the sentiment. So I'll even look at positions from retail. So if everybody's short on euro, most of the time I'm going to try and lean long, especially if the headlines are leaning the same way.
Got it. So with that being said, still having a majority reliance on technicals, even for swing trading, have you found it more challenging? Because when you look at it from a fundamentals perspective, I understand the logic behind swing trading because that's what moves the market long term, and economy's health and news events and these changes will drive price long term. But from a technical perspective, apart from just overall trend, a daily trend, and hoping that continues, what else are you utilizing to kind of have overall directional bias and confidence to hold the trade long
Really,
term?
I'm just looking for market structure and order flow. Those are the two things that, to me, are the most important because when the order flow changes, it's going to be very clear. Like
How are you
sometimes the
defining that order flow?
fair value gaps. Most of the time, fair value gaps. So really large prints. When I spoke with Umar Ashraf, I believe they just call them single prints. So if you were looking at like a time and sales sheet, essentially is if there's thin liquidity, it's going to go print at a specific price, right, and leave behind a large candle that needs to be rebalanced at some point, right? So if we have one large order that comes through and the market spikes one direction, I'm just looking for a fade of that move to retrace and then position myself long. Or if that specific run fades entirely and then it takes out the other side, that's what I'm looking at as a change in order flow. Because why would there be a massive surge of buy side liquidity being engaged in the market, and then why would it fade, and take out the low? That doesn't make any sense to me. So really, I'm looking at the emotions behind the market, and that's kind of what I've always based my trading on. And when it comes from a technical standpoint, I'm very rudimentary in my technicals. Like if I were to share my analysis, it's a couple lines and a couple rectangles. I've gone down the path of adding more and more technicals, but I've just found that the more you add, the more confusing it is. And really what I'm relying on is my ability to make clear decisions. So the more and more I add to my charts, that decision making, it takes a hit. So trying to keep it as simple as possible.
So someone that's gone deep down the rabbit hole of SMC, ICT, and everything technical related, and now it seems like you've done not an addition approach, rather a subtraction approach of let me simplify it and take the key elements and just a few lines and boxes. What are those few things that you have kept in your system?
Yeah, so fair value gaps, old highs and lows, so liquidity rates, premium discount, so using a Fibonacci. Those are things that are tried and true. Basically, there's three things that you need to understand which direction the market is going, because at the end of the day, right, what is it really doing? It's just going to go up or it's going to go down. It's how do I manage my emotions and my behavior around that specific market movement? Because if I'm making all these poor decisions as the market's going up one direction, I know it's not the market causing that negative P&L. Because I've seen times where I get the bias, the idea right, and I get my entry right. And where I messed up was the management, which is something that is, I would say the trade management aspect of it is probably has the highest skill cap for like ceiling wise. It has the highest skill scaling because that's kind of where you can really squeeze the most out of your system. It's how do I manage my stops better? Right. How do I scale in better? How do I size better? Right? It's all of those things. How do I take partials better? Those are things that I think you're never going to be able to perfect, but you can try and perfect it as much as you can.